You know, some songs are just hits. They're catchy, they're popular, and then they kind of fade. But every once in a while, a song comes along that becomes something so much more. It becomes a language, a way for an entire nation to talk about its grief. And that is the incredible, powerful, and unspoken story behind BTS's Spring Day.
The song kicks off with this line, 보고 싶다. 이렇게 말하니까 더 보고 싶다. It translates to, I miss you. Saying this makes me miss you more. I mean, wow. It's so simple, right? But it's also just heartbreaking. It immediately pulls you into this feeling of deep, personal longing. And it turns out that one feeling unlocked a much, much bigger story for a whole country.
So that really brings us to the big question for today's explainer, doesn't it? How on earth did a song from one of the biggest pop groups in the world transform into this unofficial anthem of remembrance and collective grief? How does that even happen? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we've got to go back. Let's start at the beginning, right when the song first came out.
So, Spring Day drops back in 2017, and boom, it's an instant success. Straight to #1 in South Korea. And at first glance, it's this beautiful, kind of melancholic song about missing someone. A classic theme, right? Something we've all heard in pop music 1,000 times.
But then, people started listening closer, and really, really quickly, they began to hear something else hiding in the lyrics. This deep, profound sense of loss. All these metaphors, this constant theme of just waiting. It all started to echo a wound that was still incredibly raw for the entire country. And that wound was the 2014 Sewol Ferry tragedy, a truly devastating event that resulted in the loss of over 300 lives, the vast majority of them high school students.
And right there, that's the moment. That's where the song's meaning just completely transformed in the public's mind. What started out as a personal story about separation was reinterpreted as a story of collective national trauma. A song about missing one friend suddenly became a tribute to hundreds.
Okay, but here's the really fascinating part. Get this. BTS has never officially confirmed that the song is about the Sewol Ferry disaster. And that, right there, is the absolute key. That ambiguity is precisely what gives the song its incredible power. Because it wasn't a political statement, it became something else. A kind of shared, open space where anyone could pour their grief, their feelings, their memories.
So let's do that. Let's dive into the lyrics themselves and see exactly how they create this powerful space for mourning.
Okay, so throughout the song, you hear all these references to a long, cold winter. And of course, they're not just talking about the weather. Winter became this huge metaphor for that time after the tragedy. A time when everything felt frozen, when answers felt so far away, and healing, well, it seemed pretty much impossible. And then you've got this recurring image of dust. Just think about that for a second. What is dust? It's what's left behind. It's those tiny, lingering traces of people who aren't there anymore. It's such a powerful symbol for the sheer weight of memory and for all those small, personal things that suddenly carry this enormous emotional weight. But really, at its core, the entire song is anchored by this one idea: waiting. And this resonated so deeply because it perfectly mirrored the endless, agonizing weight of the families, waiting for answers, waiting for justice, waiting for a return that they knew would never come. It gave a voice to this feeling that had settled over the whole country. All right, now let's switch gears to the music video. Because if you think the lyrics are deep, wait till you see how the visuals build on all of this. They are just as layered and intentional, for sure. So the video kicks off with a sign for a place called Omelis. Now, this isn't random. It's a direct shout-out to a really famous short story by Ursula K. Le Guin. In the story, Omelis is this perfect, happy city, a utopia. But there's a catch. All of its happiness depends on the secret, unending suffering of one single child. And the story basically asks you, is that okay? Is that happiness worth the price? In the story, some people just can't stomach it. They can't accept this horrible trade-off, so they choose to walk away from Omelis. And that's exactly how the video positions BTS. They are the ones who walk away. They're the ones who refuse to be happy if it means ignoring or forgetting the suffering of others. They choose to remember. And oh man, the video is just packed with symbols that drive this home. That train they're on, It's not really going to a physical place. It's a journey into memory. You see that giant pile of laundry? That's widely seen as a visual stand-in for the yellow ribbons used to commemorate the Sewol victims. And then the single pair of shoes washed up on the shore. That one just hits you. A gut-wrenching, unmistakable symbol of absence.
So, let's pull back for a second. What does all of this mean in the bigger picture? What can a song like Spring Day really teach us about the role of art in the face of tragedy?
Well, it basically created something you could call an aesthetic of condolence. Now, that might sound a little academic, but what it means is this. It took these really complex, heavy feelings of collective mourning and translated them into the language of K-pop, a language that millions of young people understand fluently, making those feelings accessible and, maybe most importantly, shareable.
You can almost see its journey in stages. First, it just gives people the words, a shared language for their grief. Then, because it steers clear of direct politics, it unifies people purely in remembrance, creating this incredible sense of solidarity. And from there, it just evolves. It stops being just a pop song and becomes a lasting cultural touchstone for healing.
And I think this is so crucial. Spring Day never offers a neat, tidy, happy ending. It doesn't promise that everything will be okay. No. Its real power comes from a totally different kind of promise, an eternal one. We will not forget. The song suggests that healing doesn't come from moving on, but from carrying the memory with you.
Which leaves us with this one last thought. A beautiful reinterpretation of the song's hope. What if the goal isn't to finally reach some perfect spring day where all the pain is gone? What if the act of remembering itself is the spring?